We're back. Hey, Chorus. Hey, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
Chorus just got back from a trip.
I did. Yeah, Vegas.
Why were you there?
We were actually there for a Depeche Mode concert.
Oh,
so
really?
that was
So there was
super
a show.
fun. Yeah, it was
And
super
how long were you
cool.
there? Because you were there for a few days.
Yeah, I took the week off. We were there from Monday all the way through Friday. So it was pretty cool.
Dang. Did you gamble?
No.
Were you sinning in Sin City?
I didn't gamble, mostly because my social anxiety. I don't know how to gamble, really.
Okay.
And my social anxiety would prevent me from asking for help in how to gamble. So, yeah.
So you wouldn't just sit down at a blackjack table and play?
Just figure it out.
No.
Nah, not really. I don't think so.
No slot machines?
No.
Huh.
Well, they're not simple anymore. Everyone says, "Oh, you told to just go and throw in some coins and have fun with it." And now there's you have to have like a member card and like go set up an account before you even sit down. So
Yeah.
it wasn't cool. But I did do some photography while I was out there, so that was super fun.
Oh, I saw some of your you used a filter.
Yeah, I used a mist filter, so that was fun.
Good. On the neons, that makes
Yeah, the
super
vintage
80.
lighting is just like super cool, you
Mhm.
know. So that was fun. I wanted to go to the neon graveyard, but we didn't get a chance. We were just busy doing
Is that
other
just
stuff.
a place with a bunch of old neons?
Tons of
out of
old
business?
neon. Yeah, like all out of service neon. And then they have the neon museum too, which I think is separate, but it's pretty cool.
You do notice that they have one of those types of things over here at it's like on Lomas and something right by the railroad.
Yeah, there's a coffee shop over there.
Yeah.
And that's supposed to be an exhibit, I think, but he's
Mhm.
still trying to accrue all of the signs. So I hope that opens soon. That'd
Yeah.
be super cool. I mean, it's just old neon is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So much character and it's like uniquely American, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, cool. Welcome back. We just launched the show.
We did.
What did we record that one like a month ago?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, I just launched the show. I did the reel or whatever. Maybe some of you guys saw that and found the show through that, but on Instagram and announced the show. So it's now live. It's no longer unlisted. It's no longer in test mode. We have a show and it's public.
It's
So,
real.
It's real now.
It's the real world now.
It's crazy. I put it in the caption, but I was kind of talking about how enough second guessing. It's time to just start posting. So we actually have a few banked episodes to buy us a little time. Especially since Chorus was out of town last week, and then I'm actually not going to. Well, no, I will be able to do one next week. Gosh, these cars, man.
I know. The exhaust is bizarre.
Maybe it's a part of the charm of the show because we're on Route 66, and that's kind of a part of the brand. But yeah, the show's live now, and all of our trying and everything is finally come to a head. So the Common Union figured it all out. Man, it was like a puzzle, putting this whole thing together, trying to figure out, do I just release a show and call it a day? And it's just like the show? Or like everything else I do, does it have to have this depth that, has a plan for 20 years down the line? Maybe. At least have the potential for it. But yeah, I'm excited, getting some decent feedback. We'll see. It'll be fun. Man. Oh, so segment. This is going to be hopefully a repeat segment, but show and tell. And it would be cool if we had like a button for it. We don't have a video or anything for it, but this is a fun piece. How cool is that?
Is that a self-portrait?
A self-portrait.
Yeah.
No, this is it actually reminds me of my uncle. He was I don't know if I shared that story on a previous episode, but ghetto monks. He was a pastor, my Uncle Gerald, and he loved the saints and really monkhood, everything that was St. Francis was his guy. I have no idea who this is supposed to be. But I just really liked the colors, obviously the religious nature of it, the halo. I just think it's really neat. What you probably can't see, you can kind of see with how the light touches it. I'm trying to like embellish that, but this is not a canvas. There you go. This is metal.
Really?
Yeah. So apparently it came from Mexico. So I got this from my other uncle on my dad's side, the owner of Sunwest Silver. He had this hanging up in his shop, and I was in there one day and I just noticed it. He's got so much stuff all over the place. But I noticed this one day and I said, "How much?" And I pointed up at the wall and he said, "For you, I'll give it to you for $250." And so the guy that was working behind the counter, not him, went and picked this one down, and he was like, "Oh, that one?" I was like, yeah, that's the one I was talking about. He's like, "Oh, well, I'll give you two for $250 too." So not two. Does that make sense what I just said?
Yeah.
That he wasn't wanting to get rid of this for $250. But I'm pretty sure that's what I paid for it. And but he did. He let it go for $250. But yeah, there's like not a bullet hole, but there's all kinds of like blemishes in this thing. It's really, really cool.
That is super interesting.
Yeah. Gold frame, not real, of course. But it's just old as crud. And yeah, I don't really know much more about it. So if anyone does have any idea who this is supposed to be depicting, that'd be cool if you wrote in and told me. But there you go. Ernie Montoya is his name, the Turquoise King. So he mainly he owns a few mines, but he also just collects everything. I mean, dude, if you're ever in Albuquerque, go to Sunwest Silver. He probably won't show you everything himself, but man, he's got so much stuff.
Just a treasure trove.
Yeah, he's got a vault full of the highest grade turquoise, most expensive turquoise. Yeah, jars and jars. It's a library of turquoise.
How does someone own a mine? What does that look like?
Own the rights to it, so he owns the rights to a lot of them. So Fox, a lot of his turquoise, Fox, Caraco Lake. He's got a lot of Varisite mines. A lot of he actually just I don't know if it's a secret or not, but he bought the rights to some of Royston, which I don't know if that's that great anymore actually, because apparently they dynamited the whole thing, and so a lot of the turquoise that you get out of there now is just cracked. It's broken because of so many explosions.
Crazy.
Yeah, they used the probably the wrong long-term method for that one. Probably ruined a lot of turquoise. But Royston's a really famous mine. The Artisans were the ones that sold it to him, the rights to a portion of it or some of it or all of it. I don't know the specific details, but yeah, that guy is well known in the business. What is this week? This week is Holy Week, right? Just finished Palm Sunday. I don't know when this will air, actually. That's kind of a problem, huh? This won't be be a thing necessarily by the time we post it. Maybe we'll post this next.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah,
there's no reason not to.
Yeah, maybe this one will post on Monday, just after Easter. Okay, maybe that. But yeah, so Holy Week, and I have a tradition. Do you have any traditions?
Yeah, my tradition is go to UNM Stadium at 4 a.m. and get ready for
Calvary.
Work. Yeah.
Chorus works for Calvary. Oh, man, I just keep hearing this noise. It's either wind, a homeless person,
or a combination. Yeah, I think the wind is like blowing the doors, and we're getting some squeaks.
Yeah. So Chorus does Easter Sunday, so he's actually doing tons of work right now. He's cramming a bunch of work. And so that's what he does on Easter. I always do on Good Friday. I watch The Passion.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen that. Is that weird that I've never seen
it?
It
is weird. Well, I mean, not to shame you, but it is.
Go ahead and point.
It is. It's not to say it's like one of my favorite movies, but oh man, it's very, very powerful. And my wife refuses to watch it with me. She did agree to it, by the way. This Friday, we're watching it together.
It's happening.
Yeah, and it's not a Netflix and chill type of movie, okay?
I was going to say, like, what snacks do you prepare for the Passion of Christ?
Maybe a wine, maybe, a glass of wine or something, and you just I just sit on the floor in front of the TV and just,
Just soak it in?
Yeah, it's a heavy movie. It's a sad movie. Heavy movie. of course, it's the crucifixion of our Lord. And so, yeah, I think it's just a grounding thing to do every year, to really just be reminded. Isn't that the point of Good Friday? It's kind of the point of many of the services.
Like the solemn observation of the sacrifice, right?
Yeah, and kind of putting your place in his place mentally and considering all of those things. What's so beautiful about the movie to me, one of the most important things I think for myself is when eventually he gets turned into the Roman soldiers, and all of his friends, his disciples who were supposed to be there praying and being awake, they all fell asleep, right? And then not only that, well, Peter does he strikes the dude's ear off, with his sword or whatever. But they all kind of vanish. Like they let him get in trouble, and then Peter, there's that scene, this really, really beautiful, powerful scene where Peter's shrinking away. The famous, you'll deny me 3 times. And I think it's just heavy to consider yourself in a similar situation, counting the costs of following Jesus. And so that's kind of where my brain goes when I watch that movie. But
we might have to pick up that tradition. I think that'd be a cool way to kind of like ground yourself before the weekend and kind of.
I think so.
Cool. That's super cool.
Are you familiar with a lot of the things that happened to what's his name, the actor? Not Mel Gibson, the guy.
Jim Caviezel.
Jim Caviezel. Are you familiar with the lore?
It's something about lightning. Is that one of them?
He got struck by lightning. Maybe multiple times.
Crazy.
As he was up on the cross, I believe he had a dislocated shoulders when they dropped him in. He got genuinely lashed with one of those things. They missed the board.
Oh my gosh!
It was like inches deep, or not deep. Sorry, wide.
Yeah.
This one of the things. So, but yeah, no, he went through a lot of what Jesus went through. And in fact, pull up that James Caviezel clip where he's I don't know if he's talking about it in this clip, but he does tell about it. And what's interesting is he's always in this very stoic, very intense, somber type of mood. And it's hard to not, I don't know, see Christ in his behavior in a way.
Sure.
Watch him talk.
Like in the zone.
Yeah.
And throughout the whole film, I was always meditating and always praying the whole time.
Yeah.
And as you would say, staying in character. And this was important because I knew that for only the people that would be able to see Jesus is through the prayer, the daily prayer and the fasting. And the fasting was immediate because of the sickness. At the end of the movie, when I was on the cross, my body's blue. There was no makeup. My body was actually blue.
Isn't that intense?
Incredible.
Between takes, as I'm here, they would take me down, and every time my shoulder was locked in, there was a 1,000-foot cliff, and it would hit the cross and would snap my shoulder out of joint. And I was just beyond.
Man.
And at that point,
if you've ever seen it, you know that face he just made is very much so.
Honestly, I could barely feel it anyway. I was so gone, but something was wrong with my heart. And the man put a stethoscope on my heart, and he said, "Mel, he can die." And at that point, Mel, some of the greatest things about Mel Gibson was that
love
he was
that guy,
a gambling man. And he said, "Jim, what do you think?" And I said, I'm going between me and God. This is between me and God, because I never thought I was good enough.
Wow. That's insane.
And at that moment, it was, I'm ready to go home. So you can take me here. That's no problem. But I knew if I died, making
absolute
this movie,
devotion to that role.
So many people would be saved.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie, I was walking up the mountainside. As I got up about halfway, everybody's in location. About 250 people. About halfway up, I felt this presence come over me, an evil presence. and it was, "You're a dead man." And I remember thinking, this is the best news. This is where I was. This is the best news I've ever had, because I know if I die, I'm going to heaven.
Yeah.
I got to the top. About
He's
the
not
fifth day,
lying.
the clouds were so low.
He's not acting.
Thunder and
Yeah.
lightning was,
You know, it's very, very
sound
real
of a
for him.
howitzer. It was so powerful that you
More
could
than a
feel the
movie.
earth move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I saw two people that were about as close as these two are to me, and their eyes were looking up and they were watering like they were going to cry. And my hair, I couldn't feel it.
Oh my gosh.
And I heard a huge gasp in the audience because they saw something, and I couldn't hear anything. It was like an eye of a storm. If you're in the eye of the storm, your hair could be blowing. It could be 30-knot winds, and I'd never heard the wind blowing. It was silence. 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1, and this light came right down from heaven and lit me up. What people witnessed was an illumination around my body and a fire on the right and left side of my head. And for one moment, I was looking at myself outside my body.
You get struck with lightning.
I was struck by lightning.
Yeah.
And there were 3 groups of people. Pastor Miles mentioned that, asked me this yesterday, was it true there were a lot of people that were very indifferent about being extras in the movie? I said, yes, tremendous amount. In fact, there were 3 groups of people, and there were the believers, there were the non-believers, and there were the fence riders. They're the ones that are very indifferent about it. 2 of those are bad decisions, but what was amazing is that people who think they're fence riding think that that's not a choice. It is a choice. You are fence riding, and
Powerful.
that is a decision that one is making. And but when I was hit, everybody fell on their face.
Amazing.
The ground shook.
Wow.
And from that point, that was the last shot of the movie.
Wow.
We're gonna, in a second, we're gonna look at that last scene when they dropped the cross into the ground and it shook. And
Yeah.
you were telling me over our conversation that because where you were elevated, the wind would blow and the cross would move, and your shoulder would continually come out of socket, and the pneumonia had set into your lungs and some of those things. Tell us about that.
Could you imagine sharing in that experience?
I think, I couldn't.
Life
breathe
changing.
very well.
Even if it's not even the full experience,
Obviously,
but
when you're hung on a cross, you die by asphyxiation, suffocation. But physically, I was struggling. But our Lord was letting me feel a little bit of what He went through.
Yeah.
And He was sustaining me, but to a point of, how far do you want to go with this? How much do you want the world to see of me? And I said, every bit.
man,
Well, then you're in for it. It's kind of like,
Thank you, Jim.
Lord, I want to
Thank you,
drink your-
Lord.
Can you drink the cup that I'm...
you have to
Yes,
watch
we
it,
can.
chorus.
We can, James
After
and
this, I
John,
definitely have
asking
to.
that we want to sit at your right and left-hand side. So it was given. But, it's funny, I'm in San Diego. When I was a young man, I came out at 18, and I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. I didn't know what Navy SEALs were. They started talking about frogmen. At 18, I told my dad this is what I wanted to do, and I applied to the United States Naval Academy 3 times. I was going to give my life, but in a different way. God had reserved that in me. I see those guys when they go through buds, and I said, there's no way you can make it through unless you're willing to say, it's okay if I die here at buds.
Yeah.
Because I want to give my life for something.
Yeah.
Let me be very clear.
And so he
If
gives,
you go to one of your friends and ask your friend, hear my story, and you say, yes, I went to one person. I said, why do you go to this person to confide in this sin to them? Because they didn't judge me, because they loved me, because I felt mercy and grace. Now, I ask you this. Do you think that your God doesn't have more mercy than your friend? Do you think your friend has more grace than God? Does your friend have more love than the Creator? It can never be. It can never be. So, God forgives you.
it's like not left the role.
And now
It's
he
still
needs
there,
Yeah, it is.
Man. Yeah, I watched it every year. Good stuff. And then, the Mel Gibson got in a lot of trouble shortly after that movie came out.
As a result of the film?
I don't know. Every time I think the misunderstanding of like canceling to a lot of, maybe not so much anymore. I think people, wisened up, but that if someone doesn't like you, they're going to find something they don't like about you and they're going to exploit it as your weakness. And they found that with Mel. And he like said some like mean things about Jews or something like that. Well, apparently in the crucifixion in the depiction of the story, which is straight out of John, straight out of the Bible, that the Jews cried to crucify him. They were, and so I think that there was a major frustration with Mel for being faithful to the scriptures and posting exactly what the story was. Obviously, many people didn't like that story. There's war, and Mel actually says it in this clip. I think I set aside that clip. It's either in this clip or a different clip, but he essentially says, "I knew that there was spiritual war going on," and let's hear it. If you got it.
Well, we're going to be bringing out the resurrection, right?
Yep.
Now, that was 2016. Is it coming soon?
Yeah, sooner now, because what I had to, it is such a massive undertaking that you can't do it lightly and you can't do it quickly. You have to really consider what it is that you need to show in order to be poignant. It can't be linear. You have to have many things to juxtapose against one another, even from different time periods, in order to illustrate what something means in a more full way. And I think it's going to be a real jigsaw puzzle to do. And I have 2 scripts.
Right.
And one of them is very structured and a very strong script, and the other is like an acid trip. You're going into other realms and stuff.
Okay.
I mean, you're in hell. You're in, it's like, you're watching the angels fall.
Oh, wow.
It's like crazy.
Is Jim come back as Jesus?
Of course.
So yeah, the new one's coming out. He's talking about the resurrection, which is the Passion of Christ 2. And that new one's coming out, and it's going to be wild. I can't wait, honestly. What's interesting is it kind of goes into the descension. He descends into hell for 3 days, and he takes the keys. I'm not too savvy with that story out of the scriptures, specifically because, how do you illustrate something that's not super illustrated in the scriptures? But he did such a good job with the Passion and going back and forth through different stories. Have you seen The Chosen?
I've not.
No. Dude, you're even saved? Do you
I
even know
know.
Jesus? I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, I'm real excited. So on the same topic, I've been noticing for the past 3 years, honestly, the way that I understand what's going on. Someone yelling. Jeez.
I can't tell.
The
way you understand what's
Is
going
that a
on.
radio? Yeah, so how I understand what's going on, I have this suspicion that kind of what's happening in the world with everything falling apart. 2020, there's kind of an illustration that was made clear to me. All of our grounds were shaken. We didn't know what, to depend on. Couldn't depend on anything. Lockdowns, sickness, and everything was uncertain, right? Remember, it was like, in these times of uncertainty, it was so redundant, so exhausted. But it was true. There was something really real there. And I think so we got to experience a thing in a season of life that may happen once a generation, which is a big shaking where people who once didn't consider their lives, didn't consider certain things, were forced to slow down and consider life in a more vivid way. And those that had their houses built on a shaky foundation, I think really found themselves to not have a strong foundation. And so it's caused this, there's this idea I'm probably not going to explain it very well, but there's this idea of the apocalypse. What is the apocalypse? This guy Doug Wilson, he explained it in one video that I watched, that an apocalypse is like a great revealing. And I think he was kind of alluding to the fact that we are in the midst of an apocalypse. And everything is, there's truths, things that were once hidden are not so hidden. And this is practical things like Epstein and, the financial system, whatever it is, right? But I find that my take on all of this stuff is I think a lot of people are starting to really come to terms with the truth, with their faith, with their lack of faith. And they're reconciling things, and they're starting to realize either you deny the truth and you deny God, you deny Christ, you deny nature, or you believe in the truth and you follow the truth. And ultimately that results in, because Jesus says, I am the truth, it results in a following of Christ. And so I've observed through a lot of different people over the last little while, like Adam Curry was a good one. In fact, I should have brought up a clip of him, but this was a little bit older. This was a couple months ago. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast. Adam Curry's the pod father. He was he was the first podcast guy. He's got a podcast called No Agenda, really good podcast. He's been on Joe Rogan a few times, but he spent like 10 minutes just telling Joe Rogan about Jesus and saying, he just converted, by the way, just converted. And he's a big conspiracy guy, big in the CIA, like talking about all these different like undercover things. And his show essentially is called No Agenda, but they just kind of give the inside baseball, kind of the analyzing the news and interpreting the news. And he talks to Joe and he says, the one conspiracy I never really looked into was Jesus. And he says, when I did, I believed in him. And he's just going on this whole diatribe, essentially just telling Joe, like, hey, I believe in Jesus. I think it's the thing. All that to illustrate, like these, I have two cases here of recent ones of prominent people coming to the Lord. Is that me? Yeah, it is me. Of prominent people coming to the Lord. One of them, and these are like maybe not confirmed, but they're curious. And one of them is Andrew Schulz. He has a podcast called Flagrant. He's a comedian, if you're not unaware. Not a Christian guy before this last episode. Let's see if there's I think I have it at this segment. Yeah.
Well, the drag queen thing is more like library. I think a lot of them. I don't think a lot of them are school connected. Some of them are school connected, but a lot of them are like at public libraries, or they'll be like at a private social club or something like that.
There was like
43 elementary schools that they did it in.
And I didn't know.
So he goes and tells it.
But also, parents are going to feel like, hey, I don't want them pushing the gay agenda, so I don't want teachers talking to my kid about none of that.
Yeah,
because it's like which teachers are just like, you confiding in me, and which teachers are
Andrew
like,
is in the baseball cap.
Yeah.
You might like this.
Black.
But see, I think that's
it's his
important
show.
as a point. Because I'll give you guys the flip side. So I had a science teacher in 5th grade who was telling us about evolution, and then this kid raised her hand and was like, "So do you believe in evolution?" And
You know
she was
who
like,
he is,
"No,
right?
But
Andrew
the state
Schulz?
requires me to teach that." And I remember being like, "You're the science." I was like, "Why should I listen to you about anything then if you don't believe in evolution?" Actually, Rogan is the person I heard make this point, which is that imagine if you were a liberal parent and you had a teacher who was conservative, which I had many conservative evangelical teachers, and they were pushing their Christian beliefs on your kids at school. You would be fucking furious. And I felt very uncomfortable, whatever that happened to me. Because I grew up in the 1990s in Texas. Yeah.
Can I be honest with you?
The flip side of it, though, is that you would also be furious if somebody's teaching your kids something that you don't believe.
I wouldn't be furious.
Why not?
If people were pushing Christian beliefs on my kids.
How so?
Because I think Christian beliefs have carved out our culture, our rules, our interactions.
Sure.
I would be 100%
There's
okay
a level.
with it.
But there's right. So you're talking about like
apologizing
Judeo-Christian values that we have inherited from Puritanism that we've enshrined in law. I think
there's a difference between
talking about evolution is not real.
I had
creationism
I had an organic chemistry professor at a private college that thought the Earth was 4,000 years old.
Exactly. And you're like, well, how can I listen to you? I can't listen to you about anything.
Son, I'm paying you.
Yeah.
It was like $25,000 a year for this bum ass school.
Andrew's genuinely
People love to,
bothered.
like,
He is.
pick that out with like Christianity, and it's just like, okay, they got one thing wrong. It's like how many things they got right? Like, I'll be honest with you, bro.
No, we're not saying
It's
that.
a
No, I'm
weird
not saying you guys
contrast
do it,
if
but,
you've
like,
watched
atheists
his stuff.
love to like do
Super
this thing
weird.
with the
Right.
Bible. We're like, well, here's something that's hypocritical. It's like, oh, what? Did you find something wrong in a
didn't say it was
5,000-year-old
all
test?
bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's
You
changing
found
the entire
Bill
atmosphere.
Maher, what a fucking genius. You a 5,000-year-old text, you found a mistake? Something that's been refuted?
But there's people that say that the Christians say there's no mistakes.
Yeah, there's no mistakes. The Bible is literally true.
Good. Settle down on that shit. I'm a Knick fan. I've been there. You know what I mean? You wrong until you right. That's what it's like being a Knick fan. You are wrong.
So this is kind of
until
where
you
it starts,
right.
where he kind of talks
And
about
if we
it, I
all go
think.
to heaven, it's like, all right, that shit was
But this
4,000
illustrates
years
his heart is in a
Yeah, but you
different
stopped going to
Yeah.
games.
position,
Bro,
right?
They double down too much.
No, you're right.
Got
He's
time.
giving a lot of
I'm
charity to
agnostic
Christianity.
about my Knicks. But a nice deep playoff run, I'm gonna be in there.
In
Like,
a very
I-
hostile environment.
I just, I was at I went to church this Sunday,
Boom.
right?
Here he goes.
It was phenomenal.
Well, what type of church?
Yeah, what
That's an
type?
important question.
I don't know. It was in a public
He
school.
was capping for Scientology last week. He's a
I
Scientologist.
had a science.
Catholic, Episcopal,
I think it was
Protestant.
non-denominational.
Oh, those are
So
good.
it's like the lib one.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was.
Right.
The pastor said lit. Like he came through in
BLM
a
flag,
hoodie.
gay pride flag.
It's a Christian TED Talk
yeah,
from the rock
yeah,
concert.
Bro,
Hell yeah.
It is a Christian TED Talk.
Yeah, they're giving him a hard time.
They are.
Bro, this is why there's 15
But he's
types of
not
Christianity.
caving. I love it.
Christians are like comics. Like they're just gonna find a way why you ain't
You're
shit.
doing
They
old
just-
Christianity, bro.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
like
yeah.
a-
You doing
exactly.
impressions?
Yeah,
Is that all you got? Is impressions?
you're a prop Christian.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like that's all you do. Okay, so and I'm in there, and it was my wife really wanted to go. Her brother goes, and I'm like, all right, this is gonna be cool, and it was beautiful, man. Like the feeling that I got. First of all, I'm crying within 3 minutes. I walk in, and it starts with the music.
Yeah.
I am bawling, crying within 3 minutes, okay? It's in a public school auditorium, and it's not at like some
I've
fancy
been there
fucking,
so many
you know,
times.
Joel Osteen
Not
church.
to his
It's
church,
in a public
but
school
in
auditorium,
that
like the
social
real shit,
position.
you know what I mean? Like
The
Jesus
real,
started
bro.
it. You know what I mean?
Go Jaguars.
Jesus wasn't going to be in some fancy ass synagogue, you know what I mean? He was in the streets with his people, you know what I mean?
playing ball, hooping.
Hooping. So, I mean, bro, they're singing the most beautiful. I love Christian music, bro. Like, honestly, I'm mad at Pastor Carl.
You should be.
Because I was up in that Hillsong crying too. If you play
Name dropping Carl
Christian
Lentz.
music for me right now,
He used to
I
cry
on the spot right now. I cry on the spot right now if we play any Christian music, bro.
Yeah.
No, we should do is play it and see if they like catch us for monetization.
Mark,
Because
Dude,
When Jesus
Andrew was
washed
like
my
every
sins
youth
away?
minister's
With
dream.
Lauren Hill?
Son,
Yeah.
They're like,
it
yeah,
was-
we
it
play
was-
great music. It's
Hold
not
on
really
a
about
second.
Jesus. We're just hanging
Hold
out.
on 1 second.
Oceans?
Hold
Oceans
on.
will get
Oceans
you.
is
Yeah.
a flamethrower.
I will call upon your
But
name.
don't ruin it, bro.
This is so weird for me to hear.
There's a place off Oceans.
What if? Yellow card at church.
They was talking that shit about you. No, not really. But no, it was so beautiful. The music, it was like filling me up, and I felt so amazing. It was these incredible feelings. And you said something, I think it was on a pod maybe last week, but like you could tell how successful a religion is by the fruit it bears. And I'm in this church, and I'm just feeling so incredible. Just listen to the music. I'm 3 minutes in, and I'm like, oh, there's a reason this shit took over the world, bro. Like, Christianity is incredible.
Come on,
I need to
Andrew.
try Islam,
He's
'cause
so
if
close.
Christianity is this
Oh, man.
Islam gonna be the new,
The 2.0.
the new,
The
bro.
2.0, yeah. Oh, Sufis, dude. Come on.
Schulz
Sufis
would be
got
a
some
great
beautiful
Sufi.
music.
What's
That's
the
what-
Had you seen
They're
this?
like mystical
Bits of it.
Islamists.
Yeah.
They like believe in music. They're chill with
Beautiful music,
gays,
dog.
but very beautiful music, good architecture.
Yo,
but
he called
still
you
Muslim.
gay still.
Yeah.
That's fire.
Listen, I'm a religious gay.
Very tolerant,
Yeah.
but still, they're very big in India. Yeah.
All I'm trying to say is it was so beautiful. And I'm in this room, there was love, and it was all these different people coming together, and they were submitting themselves to a higher power, which is a beautiful thing to see with humans. I think in this individualized society that we live in, you see see so much selfishness, and for these people to sit in this room and then just fucking give it up for something they don't even know is there. I was like, it made me fucking emotional. It was beautiful.
Come on.
And that's why when you were like, do I want these Christian values on my kids? Like, I could talk to my kid about evolution. You know what I can't do is like, when I'm not with him for 8 hours a day, is fill him up with that love and that joy that makes him be a better person to the people around him. He's not being a better person because you're telling him to be good. He's being a better person because he feels fucking God loves him. And when God fills you up, you got a little extra to give around. And it was just beautiful, man.
That's
I'm glad that
cool.
you said that,
So
actually,
cool.
Because I don't want people to construe me as saying like religion is bad.
Thank you,
just
Andrew.
Because
I
may
didn't
not
take it
believe-
that
no,
way.
Backpedaling.
I understand, but I
Also, our
think
teacher
Yeah.
never taught us
Now he's
bad
like, oh
stuff.
wait,
Yes,
he's
that's
made a
right.
really good
more
case.
so they were
and
like, hey, Akash, that's a
now he's
funny name.
realizing he bought.
And you're like, yeah, that's really
Yeah, if you
funny.
have sex, you go to hell.
Yeah, you're like, wow, that's terrible.
Watch,
They
pause
use
it.
religion
Which
as
is
a-
that
I was listening to another
You feel your
commentary of
leg is
this.
right.
I was listening to another commentary of this, and he made the accurate criticism probably of Sagar. Is that his name, Sagar?
I think so, yeah.
And how he grew up in Texas, and he was probably made fun of because he was an Indian or something, and probably gave him a bad taste in his mouth, Christians and stuff. But they made the accurate point that it was probably some misbehaved Christians that gave him a bad taste in his mouth, bad representation, which is sad because now he's, I don't know if he's a Christian or not, but seemingly dogging on it. Okay, so that's Andrew Schulz. Pretty cool. I'm pretty stoked. And I think that falls into this category of, maybe he actually says it in there. He said he was going through a hard time, going through a lot of stuff. And he goes to church 3 minutes and he's crying. I think that's an indication that he's lacking something and he's realizing it. And now he's I don't know if he's being forced to reckon with it. I mean, the dude's wealthy. He does well. He's really successful. I was surprised to hear that one. And then the other one, this one came out 2 weeks ago. Awaken with JP is another YouTube guy, comedy guy, and he's gone through a very interesting journey where it was probably 2019, 2018 is when he started getting more red-pilled. And by red-pilled, I just mean he started, there's like the red pill crowd. It's like who's the dude that just got out of Tate? Andrew Tate, the red pill, they kind of use that as their brand.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you can have multiple wives and all these things. That's not the red pill I'm talking about. I'm talking about the truth seekers, the people that are, willing to take the bitter pill of the truth, the Matrix reference. Anyway, so Awaken with JP takes the red pill 5 years ago, and he goes down this, and it starts just showing up more so in social, cultural issues, and then it turns into politics, and then he becomes a big Bitcoin guy, big Trump guy, whatever. And then now he used to be very spiritual, but now he's like, I'm with God. It's really weird. Let's play that.
A comedy video, and if that offends you,
Gotcha. Go back 20, 30 seconds. I started you in the wrong place.
I want to share with you what I used to believe, what I believe now, and what made me change my mind along the way. And also, very importantly, I want to share with you a few thoughts of mine that I have that will help us bring more God not only into our lives, but also the world around us, which seems like it needs a lot more God right now.
That's right.
Because I don't know about you, but living in a world where Satan reigns and you and I and our families have to suffer the consequences.
Can you pause? It's just so interesting because these are you remember the intellectual dark web, which is kind of like the YouTube or the internet influencers? Well, they're the smart guys, the Jordan Petersons, the Eric Weinsteins, all those different people. What's so fascinating to me is that I'd say he doesn't necessarily fall into that group, but they're kind of in that same sphere of online influencers who would probably 5 years ago have mocked Christianity because only fools believe in that. And I just think it's so interesting that there's, you know what it is? It's with Andrew Schulz and it's with him, it's not an intellect thing. It's not. And that's why he's like, yeah, maybe they got evolution wrong. And he's willing to say, I still love them. I still believe it. In a sense, that's what he was advocating for. It's because his heart. And I realized that the anchor of convincing someone is the love, showing them love. What is that? It says the scripture, it says, they'll know you're my disciples by the love you show one another.
Mm-hmm. For one another.
Mm-hmm. There's no greater life than for one to lay his life down for a friend. It's that type of love that really is the convincing factor. You can say the nice, perfect things, make a great case for Christ, but if you have not love, you're a sounding gong. It's that type of thing. But it seems like, I don't know if it was that he probably did find some other Christian influencers online and started to really appreciate their you know what it is? Christians have had a steadfastness, true Christians that didn't fall away, that aren't apostate. There was a lot that fell away. But the ones that stayed anchored, that's like the remnant. And that's why in the grand scheme of like my observation the last few years, the apocalypse, is that many fall away, but then the ones that stick around, stay faithful, they become kind of the most vibrant for God's case, shining the light, letting their light shine. And I think that it makes a better case to the world. It's like this. My philosophy is that you have this season that happens every age or so, every 80 years or 100 years, where you have an apostasy and people fall away from the faith who never really were anchored in good soil, as the parable of the sower talks about. And then you have the people that had deep roots, good soil, and they stick around, and they were the ones that were going to kind of push the faith forward, the remnant. And I think that effectively does its job, and then it grows again. And the seeds fall, and they fall, and they fall, and then the same thing. It's like winter and spring, and it really is. It's like that. It's just like winter. I think we're in a winter, but that winter is going to bring about a spring and a big new summer and a vibrant thing again. But it's going to come by leaders like this JP, the people that convert to Christianity, the others that the young generation who are the pendulum swinging away from this far leftism, I think. Let's hear some more.
Doesn't really feel appealing to me. And also, quick disclaimer, this video is not intended to be a comedy video. And if that offends you, pray about it. So what I used to think about God that I now say, yeah, I was wrong about, I used to have a lot of judgment about religion and Christianity, thinking like, it's not bad, but it's like, dude, that's so outdated.
See?
And like, get with it. Why are you religious when you could be spiritual? And along with that, I became very
timeless.
inundated in this.
Christianity is timeless.
So like spirituality, not religion. Like the evolved thinkers are spiritual, not religious. They're also evolved enough to always have to tell you that they're spiritual, not religious. That was me. And while I was in there, I will honestly say I got a lot of benefit from spiritual teachings, like different teachers, different books, different philosophies. I got a lot of benefit from that. But when I look back, I can see I was excluding some amazing traditional Christian values, beliefs of God.
Preserving tradition, for goodness sake.
God that I now really value. But out of what I would call spiritual arrogance, I was excluding them, just judging them to be, oh, that's old, outdated stuff. And like, nah, y'all need to get spiritual like me. And with that, I didn't believe in the immense power of prayer. I used to think, well, prayer's probably a good thing. It'll maybe give you a more positive mood, a more positive outlook. But I didn't truly believe in the power of prayer, where people are directly asking God for God's support and then receiving that support from God. Yeah, I didn't really believe that it actually happened. And in a minute, I'll get to directly telling you what my beliefs about God now are. But first, what changed me? What happened when I see that changed my mind? Well, one observation I've had over the past 3 years, especially, it's hashtag pandemic. Over the past 3 years, I've found myself accidentally getting more Christian. Like without even intentionally trying, like setting out on a mission, like, hey, I want to become more Christian. It's just been effortlessly happening for me. Now, I don't think I'm unique there because I've seen a lot of people and I've heard a lot of people telling me similar stories.
That's what I'm saying, right?
I asked the question, why are people getting more Christian without even trying? Here's what I believe to be true about that. The presence of evil and Satan that evil emanates from has never been more obvious.
That's right.
At least in my lifetime. The past 3 years, evil isn't hiding anymore. It's coming at us through authoritarianism, movements, people, groups, companies, governments, trying to invade our minds, invade our God-given free will. So as that's become more obvious, I think there's a natural polarity that happens. If you're not someone who's willing to do the devil's bidding, if you're not someone who's willing to propagate evil, then there's a natural occurrence that happens when you're in the presence of evil, you polarize to the other extreme. Like you may not even be consciously aware of it, but the presence of evil makes you lean away. And then, therefore, what direction are you leaning towards? That would be the direction of God, certainly the opposite of evil, the opposite of Satan. So I think that's seeing the presence of evil. That's why I've just accidentally been getting more Christian, why so many other people are. Because right now, I think the evil that's in this world is doing a great service of driving a lot of people to find God in ways that they previously hadn't. And also specifically, we could say, hey, there is an attempt.
I think that's a great point, an illustration. It's that same thing with weak men bring about hard times creating strong men. In a way, it's like the gratitude for, I'm like, it's exactly what James says in his not in his gospel, but in his letter, that we, I forgot my Bible. Shame on me. James, that we take joy, we rejoice in the sufferings, for in them produces perseverance in character. That's what Paul says in Romans, same thing. Suffering produces perseverance, character, hope. And hope does not disappoint. It's that idea. I think it's exactly what he's talking about. As he finds himself repelling away from evil, he finds himself closer to goodness, to Christ, to God. Pretty cool. Do you know JP?
Yeah, I watched some of his content. Yeah, back in the day, probably like early pandemic, I was seeing a lot of his stuff, and it's cool to see him like totally coming around.
Yeah.
It's hopeful. It gives me hope.
Thank you, JP, being a humble man, leading well.
And sharing
boldly.
the testimony too.
Yeah.
Which is like so, it gives so much like hope to other believers that your story matters, you know? Something I think I forget for sure.
Mm-hmm. So awesome. That was like Holy Week stuff. That was actually probably covered a lot of time, huh? We watched a lot of TV. Where are we anyway?
I don't have this going. I have it
okay.
going here. I forgot to hit it here.
Okay.
So
Well, so long as we have it on there, it's
yeah.
fine.
But I don't have a timestamp because of that.
And so you've noticed that I've been wearing my Coors hat. I'm wearing it for two reasons. One, because I just like the hat. And two, because Budweiser. What are you thinking? What are you trying to kill your business? I don't even want to say this person's name, but why would you do this? The king of, I saw this. Oh, this is a great joke. I should have saved it. I put the tweet up, give the guy credit who said it, but Budweiser used to be the king of beers. Now it's the king of queers. Because if you didn't know, Budweiser partnered with trans activist Dylan Mulvaney. Is that maybe the right way to characterize that? And he is everything all right? Okay.
I was trying to find the meme, but I couldn't find it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so they partner with Dylan Mulvaney, the guy, the attention-seeking dude. I almost said worse words. And man, we're giving him the attention he does not deserve. Which is why I'm wearing this in protest to Budweiser. Coors, don't make the same mistake, please. Did I have any Dylan Mulvaney? I didn't have anything pulled up.
No, I didn't have anything pulled up for that.
Okay.
I'm curious though. I wonder if Budweiser's stock took a hit.
Are they public? Is it a public company?
I don't know. Let's see. If this is right, I'm seeing less than 1% dip.
Really?
Yeah.
That would surprise me. You know, it was actually funny enough. A couple days ago, I was listening to, my wife was listening to Ali Beth Stuckey's podcast in the car. And she made a very perfect point. She said, 99% of humans throughout history, agree with us. It's not normative. It's normal. And I thought that was an interesting way to look at it. 99% of humans throughout history, probably even today around the world, just right now, think that we are losing our mind by platforming, gosh, this president. Oh, my. Especially in light of last week's, it was a week ago today,
The shooting,
the Nashville shooting.
which is a hate crime
It is
By the way.
against Christians.
against Christians.
And they won't talk about that. Didn't she have like a specific, what do you call it? A mission? Whatever the word is, the proper word for it is.
I believe they even found plans where she was debating between two Christian schools, and she chose the one that was an easier target.
That's right. And, oh, geez. I was reading, I was just trying to think if I should mention this or not. A company that I nearly partnered with in Nashville, boutique, shoot. I won't say their name, but many of you guys probably know who it is. Is that me? Yeah. Okay. Made a post about it, and it's sad. Of course it is. Dude, pastor's daughter, his only daughter, that was terrible. But they were trying to make like a cloaked anti-gun post. And I thought, man, if that's what you're criticizing, especially in light of the fact that she, whatever. Gonna get in trouble.
You're not going to get it right because it's not right.
Huh?
You're not going to get it right. I mean,
Yeah.
It's if you're confused in your language, it's because we live in a confusing world.
Yeah. But because she chose the school with lesser security, why would guns be the problem? It should be the answer. Put the guns in the good guys' hands. Equip every school. I saw somebody else said that too. That Congress, that our country could solve this problem by equipping public schools in general with the help they need as far as defense. And but they wouldn't want to do it because then they'd lose, their main vehicle for getting rid of guns, which would be these tragedies. But they could stop the tragedies mostly. In every one of these cases, man, they always go to the gun-free zones or the places where there's less security. But you can't say that. I'm just a shill for the NRA, huh? In other news, lighter news, maybe we'll end on a little lighter note. Yeah, we're probably this is probably longer than an hour. Elon switches the Twitter icon to the Doge. This one's for you, Jonathan.
And this is in honor of the stock, right?
Yeah.
So I have the current stock rates here.
So it went back down a little bit. But yeah, it spiked about 20%. It was like 20-some percent. Now it's back down. What does it say there?
Looks like this is over the period of a day. So yeah, it's still up pretty high.
And he didn't do it on the app. I didn't see it on the app. I just saw it on the desktop.
Yeah, I saw on the desktop.
Yeah. The Doge. He's pumping it, man. It was a big pump and dump. I don't have Doge. Doge? Dogecoin? Anyway. Oh, yeah, there it is. He said he was going to do it. He said, buy Twitter and replace the bird with a Doge. All right. I don't really have much more. I appreciate everybody. Oh yeah, and today's the day, the launch of the podcast. This probably will be the number 2 episode, although it says technically episode 3. That's not true. We'll play this one probably next week, and then we'll play the other ones out of order.
Cool.
Does that sound good? All right. Thank you all for joining in. This has been a wonderful night. I am your host, Chad Barela. Love you, bye.